Meet the Transfers UCLA Bruins edition. Hi, UCLA. Welcome to my home. Welcome to the Big Ten. There's a lot of Big Ten fans out there like me who are probably going to have to become familiar with UCLA basketball very quickly. Obviously, a blue blood program. They've had some great years recently. They've had some not so great years recently. And they have a pretty new roster to try and fix their team from last year's not so great season. 6 new transfers in. We're going to go guy by guy and give our role projections and our general thoughts on each player. But before we get further into this for UCLA, Riley, I do have some questions for you at the top. UCLA came in at 16th on our rankings of the best transfer classes in the country. Do you think that feels about right?
It does. And I need to pull up my rankings that I sent you that I did for this exercise because I think I was a little bit higher on them. I had them 15. So, yeah, right around there. It feels like there's some really solid guys. It's just a class that's overall lacking the star power to launch it into the top 10 or higher.
I had them 22nd. You were the highest and I was the lowest. So Brian and Carter had them like in the middle of 16th or 15th and 22nd. Not a huge range. I think we all think this is a good class. Also a class that may not have like superstardom potential, as you mentioned, but definitely a bunch of good basketball players who will contribute for UCLA this season. Let's start with this question. Did Mick Cronin and UCLA do what they set out to do with this transfer class?
So if you look at the stats, like the advanced metrics, assist rate, shots at the rim, etc., like it seems like he was looking for wings who were just competent and were not going to get played off the court, and a couple upside swings here and there. But yeah, he brought in 3 wings with that we'll get into with Kobe Johnson, Eric Daly, Tyler Billett. I guess Tyler Billett was probably more of a forward, could even play the 5 in a pinch. But all of those dudes project as sort of these unspectacular players that'll, well, maybe can grow into feature roles, but at the very least aren't going to get played off the floor like your Jan Vides of the world. It seemed like he wanted to pull the plug on the foreign player experiment after 1 year. So in that sense, I think he did do what he was looking for.
So I want to answer yes, he did do what he's trying to do, but with the caveat that I don't know what he was trying to do, and I still don't. Like I don't think there's much rhyme or reason connection between all these guys, other than like for the most part they're old and have played a lot of basketball. I think stealing Kobe Johnson from your rival is a huge move that's gone under the radar. But like it's one of those things where I would look at the guys who are returning and say, okay, he believes in his backcourt. He believes his guards are really good. But then also, why are you bringing in Sky Clark then?
Right.
Why are you
That,
bringing in Dominic Harris? You know, like
mhm.
it just feels all over the place. It's like he collected good players, and you can't get mad at him for collecting good players. But I don't know what the goal was with this class.
Yeah, that was my initial thought too. Just again, looking at the wings and forwards that he brought in to see, oh, you want to build around your sophomore point guard, Sebastian Mack. Dylan Andrews has had some moments, but I kind of think there's a chance Sky Clark emerges as the best guard too.
Could
So
happen.
maybe there's maybe he is just seen as this lottery ticket and hasn't worked out for Sky at his previous two stops. But he's the LA kid. I think was originally committed to UCLA, so maybe it all comes together where it all was supposed to start for him.
I mean, the short answer too is they had 5 guys transfer out. If you add those 5 guys' points per game production together from last season, they total less than Kobe Johnson's 10.9 points a game. And Kobe Johnson is the 5th leading scorer of this incoming group. So maybe what he tried to do was literally just kind of process out the non-productive players and bring in productive basketball players. We'll make it work when we get in the locker room. In that sense, I think it was a success. What's one thing that he could have done or added to this transfer group that would have improved it for you?
Well, we've already touched on the lack of star power, and I think there's not really any player that fits that archetype unless you get a huge jump from Eric Daly. He's the highest pedigree of these guys coming in, former top 40 recruit who played at IMG, but still I would say he has a ways to go to hit that all conference level tier. So maybe, you look at the wings who actually transferred and stayed in the portal. There weren't a ton. I mean, maybe you get those donors to pony up to keep Jalen Wells out of the draft to get him to withdraw and come play in Westwood or something. But I think he kind of did a decent job. But yeah, it does seem like there's still that lack of a guaranteed bucket getter on the wing that I think these guards need, even amid the flashes that they've shown.
I like that. I think my answer is that I think there are too many cooks in the kitchen in the backcourt because I
Yeah.
mentioned Sky, I mentioned Dominic Harris. I still believe Sebastian Mack's awesome. I think Dylan Andrews was really good last year. Stefanovic, technically a guard. And then you got like guys like Kobe Johnson, who like Kobe's the second leading assist per game guy on this team. And like, I think you probably want to have the ball in his hands a good amount, but
Hmm.
it just feels like a lot of guys who need the ball in the backcourt and you can only play two, max three at a time. It feels like there's five or six. I think they would have been better served maybe not bringing in one of these three quote unquote guards and maybe focusing more on a front court replacement. I know Tyler Bilodeau is good. I think he's going to be good. William Kyle, also very productive. I still have questions in the front court, to say the least. I don't have questions in the back court, so I may have flipped that if you could have a perfect world. Let's go player by player here, and we'll give a role projection. So for each one of these guys, you could say he's a star, he's a starter, he's a role player, or he's a non-factor. You got to be brutally honest as we work through this. I'm going to try and work upwards, if that makes sense, but it's kind of hard because all of these guys were pretty productive last year. The first name I mentioned may end up being the best player, but I'm just going to go off of points per game from last season and work upwards. So the first one is Eric Daly Jr. from Oklahoma State. He was a good recruit. I remember Michigan recruited him back in the high school days. Juwan Howard wanted him. 9 points a game, 5 rebounds, 49% from the floor, 33% from three. What role do you think he'll play?
I see him as a starter. Again, that's banking on the pedigree. That's banking on some sort of jump being made. Even watching him, he sort of plays like the forwards and wings that Cronin has used before. He can go one-on-one a little bit. Will play bully ball on smaller defenders. Decent touch around the basket and the mid post. Yeah, you mentioned 33%. I want to say it was 19 or 20 makes on the year. So you still want to see him increase that volume and up the efficiency a little bit from beyond the arc. Good enough passer too. Like he's a really good playmaker from the elbow to where I think he locks himself into a starting position.
I'm going to say role player just because I think there are at least five players I believe in more on this team. And positionally, it might make no sense, but I'll get to what I think the starting lineup will be. I think by the end of the year, I will be surprised if Eric Daly's in it. He will have every opportunity, it seems. Like I think he's been brought to be the starting four, but I
Mm.
still believe in Daly's talent. I think it's kind of all upside right now. I would compare him to a guy in Kerry Booth who played at Notre Dame and is now at Illinois, where you love what he could be a couple years from now, but as a finished product right now, is he ready to help a winning basketball team? I don't know that I buy that, and I think there are better players on this team that are. Next on the list is Kobe Johnson. Like I mentioned, if you can steal a guy from your rival, you should do it every single time. He's one of the better players on USC in the past. Just under 11 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Only shot 31% from three, but what's his role and what do you make of his game?
I have him as a rotation piece. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a starter, but he's never scored more than 10 points per game in his career. I think he's more of a floor raiser. You mentioned he's a good passer, can play out of ball screens, got to do that a lot at USC. And again, when you look at how Cronin used someone like Jaime Hawk as bigger guard slash wing, whatever position you want to classify him as, and play with the ball in his hands a lot. The only difference, so like, I guess that is the track that maybe if you squint hard enough, you could see Kobe Johnson going on, but I don't think he's anywhere close to that level of talent. And he's actually the one who I think sort of finds himself on the outside looking in when it comes to the starting lineup. That is.
Okay. Yeah, you and I are split on this a little bit then. I have him as a starter, and if he doesn't start the season to begin with, I think he will start it to end with. Look, he's going to be competing with Stefanovic, who was good last year for UCLA, and Daly, like in the mix. You want Kobe Johnson probably as the three, so you would slide Stefanovic down, almost play four guards if that happens. Or he could take one of those roles, maybe beat out one of the other guards, Anders or Mack. And like I said, it's a loaded backcourt. Sky Clark's involved. But I just trust what he brings defensively here. Like I think he is a plug and play guy you've seen play at the high major level in a way that a lot of these other guys aren't. We know what Sky Clark can do offensively. Dominic Harris, we know has had issues in the past when he's been asked to do more. Badow was really good at Oregon State, but they weren't playing serious basketball, in my opinion. And William Kyle, we don't know what he's going to be at all. We like the upside, we like the production, but it's a totally different test. I think Kobe Johnson's the guy I trust the most in this group. He's versatile. Like I said, 3.5 assists is like a secondary ball handler guy. He's a guy who doesn't make mistakes. I think he's going to earn his minutes on this team as a starter. Next up on the list would be William Kyle. I mentioned him from South Dakota State. 13-6, 6'9", big man. Not a three-point shooter at all. So sort of this traditional post. You would think he kind of slots in as a backup big on paper, but what's your projection for him?
I think he has to start just because there's not really anybody else, unless you want to put Tyler Bilodeau at the 5, which I think he played that a little bit at Oregon State his freshman year.
Well, what
But
about
yeah,
a Demara?
oh, I forgot about a Daymara.
Yeah.
My apologies. Lo siento, España. Uh, I still think I don't know, man. Daymara looked. He just looked like he was so far away last year. He's so skinny, and I get that Kyle's not like the bulkiest guy either, but at least you can lean on this year of production at um, South Dakota State. And he was second in the country in dunks this past season behind only Zach Edey. I think that's encouraging. There's been a decent track record of Summit League transfers moving up a league recently. I don't know if I'm just
Yeah.
letting like Baylor Shireman and Grant Nelson, maybe they're the two exceptions and it's not working out more than I'm imagining, but I don't think he's going to, it might be more of a 2-year plan where his second year at UCLA, you really see him become comfortable as a Big Ten starting caliber center. But I mean, I kind of think he's going to it might be his job to lose.
Yeah. I won't be shocked if that happens. Here's where you start to lose me when some people have UCLA like top 20 in the country, and they could be really good in the Big Ten. Don't get me wrong; they have a lot of talent. I think I see some Adem Bona in William Kyle in the sense that he is like kind of like a big time play finisher. He's good at the rim. He can dunk. He's bouncy. He was Summit League all defense. Like I think you trust him defensively. He can pass a little bit too. Like you can run some offensive stuff through him. 1.7 assists for a big man is not nothing. And he doesn't foul. That's one thing I would say. Like he's never averaged 2 fouls in a game in his career, and he has never played 30 minutes before. So like there's a world here where he plays a lot of minutes. My issue is this: if we're doing the Bona comp and he can fill that role, then this sort of becomes for me like, oh, you're trying to be the same team you were last year, but with the Summit League version. They were already a bad team last year, and Adem Bona was awesome. So I would not exactly be trying to replicate the exact mold. And if he beats out a Demara, to me, that would signal really bad things for UCLA's upside rather than an indication that William Kyle's really good. I hope I'm wrong. I think they have good pieces in the front court, but you're really banking on Mara taking a big step. The other guy in the front court would be Tyler Bilodeau, as we mentioned, from Oregon State. Very productive year in the Pac-12 last year. 14 points, just under 6 rebounds, 53% from the floor, 34.5% from 3, 6'9", big man. I don't know how this is going to work with Kyle and Bilodeau and Mara. Are they all competing for the center spot, or do you think these guys could play next to Mara?
I think Bilodeau's he's probably more of a 4 than a 5. He played some 3 at Oregon State last year. He's I actually kind of really like that pickup. I have him as a starter. He's gonna find his way into one of my hot takes, but I think he's more than just a shooter. He can post up a little bit, good touch in the mid range, and can get to the rim as well. And I guess if you're playing him at the 4 to truly he can create offense by posting up smaller bigs, and he's 6'9" and decent size. Like I think there's a chance that he will be able to find a mismatch at the 4 a little bit too. So yeah, he's someone whose game I like a lot and it's just tough for me to judge some of these Oregon State guys until they get out of the Wayne Tinkle curse that's been reigning over in Corvallis since that Elite Eight run. So that's where I know you said they don't play serious basketball, but like that's not affecting my view of him. It's not affecting my view of Jordan Pope either.
Yeah. 6'9", quote unquote, big man. What I would just say is this. He's a great shooter, career 80% guy from the free throw line. He has 24 blocks in 1,583 minutes. So I don't think you can play him at the 5. I think you're going to have to play him like next to a true big. And in that sense, for me, the role is bench guy, like role player type. But I think what would be best for UCLA would actually be if Kobe Johnson and Tyler Bilodeau take over Lazar Stefanovic and Eric Daly's projected roles. Like pick two guards, whatever two you think are good. Kobe Johnson at the 3, Bill it out the 4, and then whoever the best center is at the 5. That's a new team with a new build, with some skill at the 4. I like that a lot in concept. I just don't know that I actually believe Bilodeau is good enough to overtake some of those other guys. The 5th name on this list, we're going to go Dominic Harris next from Loyola Marymount, where last season he averaged 14 points a game, 45% from 3. Now, some people in our circle, I think, would tell you that those were misleading numbers a little bit. Maybe not, though. Maybe I'm just being a little bit mean. Do you believe in Dominic Harris at this point in his career?
No, I don't. He's like our age. Couldn't get on the floor at Gonzaga. Took way more 3-pointers last year than 2-pointers. Maybe there's a role for him as like a 10-minute a game shooting specialist, but I think he's probably going to be a non-factor.
Okay. Yeah, like the numbers were great at Loyola Marymount. The numbers were horrendous at Gonzaga, whereas as a sophomore, he averaged 1.5 points a game. As a freshman, he averaged 3 points a game. He just wasn't good enough. And Gonzaga's been great. So, like, not being good enough to play on a team with Jalen Suggs is not an indication that you can't play. But I'm a little surprised. I'm very surprised Harris is back up at the high major level. Like, I'm partially surprised he even wants to do that. Like, if you still want to play college basketball, just go be productive at the level you've proven you can be productive at. I don't think he's as good as Dylan Anders or Sebastian Mack or the next guy on this list, or maybe even the freshman Trent Perry. I think he is a non-factor and he's out of the rotation. And the final guy on this list is friend of the program, Sky Clark, the once Illinois commit turned Louisville Cardinals leading scorer, best player last season on one of the worst teams in high major basketball history. Sky Clark gets a fresh start in his home state of California. I really like this landing spot for him, but what should UCLA fans expect?
I think he's going to end up the starter. It might not be at the beginning of the year, but they need someone who's going to give some scoring pop on the perimeter. And I know Sebastian Mack, I know Dylan Andrews they were both, they were both solid last year. Mack was really impressive as a freshman, but neither can either of those dudes. Are they capable of like going off for 35 in a game like Sky is? And again, caveat it that he played on a really bad team last year, but you go back to when people forget NC State was like 5 minutes away from losing to Louisville in the first round of the ACC tournament because Sky had like 37 that game. I think that skill set will get him on the court. And even looking at what Mick Cronin did with a guard like Tiger Campbell, very, very different build, very different makeup than Sky, was a pass first guard, but had some of the same like size and I guess Sky, some of the same defensive concerns that Sky Clark has. And Cronin was able to develop him. Cronin was able to fix that. And I think that's what Sky should really look forward to as well, and hope that he can follow a similar trajectory
Yeah,
like clean up some of the holes.
I won't be shocked if it happens. The only thing I would say in response to what you said is, like, could any of these guys have scored 35 the way Sky did? At Louisville, maybe. That's the thing. Like, if you dropped Sebastian Mack on last year's Louisville team, do I think he could have had like a 40-point game? Yeah, like I do.
He
Now,
had 25 against Marquette, so maybe I'm underselling him a little
well,
bit.
here's the thing with Sky, and it's always been the thing with Sky. He is supremely talented. He's still the same talented kid he came in as, like a 5-star that John Calipari wanted. The thing Sky hasn't done in his career is proven that he can lead a winning team. And I think if he does become the starter on this UCLA team, I'm a big Sky fan. I really am. It could mean really good things for them, but it would mean that Sky matured in a way we haven't seen yet. It's probably more likely that if Sky is the starting point guard on this team, it means bad things for UCLA. I don't like saying that out loud because I really do believe in Sky's talent. I think he's the most talented player here. But it's why, like, when you add this all up, I can sit here and be like, I think Sky's going to start. He's the best guard here. And then I get to where I got to rank the Big Ten teams, and I don't have UCLA 4th overall because I'm questioning how much of his winning habits are. Again, at Illinois, he left in the middle of the season on a really talented team that had Terrence Shannon and what's his name? Matthew Meyer, Coleman
Matthew Meyer.
Hawkins. They had all these good players. And Sky was just like, "Yep, I'm out." Like he thought he was the best player on the team. I love the kid, but he wasn't ready for that. And then he chose to go to a school where he could do whatever he wants. The numbers were fine. The team was horrendous. So I think him even choosing to go to UCLA is a sign he wants to be a part of something. But is he willing to accept the role? Or is he going to UCLA thinking, hey, I'm going to take Sebastian Mack and Dylan Andrews' jobs? And who knows? Who knows what happens if that happens? I think you're right, though. I think by the end of the season, Sky's a starter. We also went through all these guys. I think we both named like 7 starters. So can we give an official starting lineup prediction for UCLA at the end of the year?
Yeah. It's gonna be Sky Clark, Sebastian Mack, Eric Daly, Tyler Bilodeau, and William Kyle.
That's my favorite backcourt in the country. I'm gonna go Sky Clark, Sebastian Mack, Kobe Johnson, Bilodeau, Ade Mara. I think that's the best case scenario. Although my heart's best case scenario would be Andrews, Mack, and Sky together. Just go like 2004 Illinois, 3 little tiny point guards. That could be really fun. Okay, there's your meet the players. I have a couple final questions for you, Riley, just to end this. Who do you think the best player in this transfer class will be?
That Tyler Bilodeau, but now I'm kind of talking myself into Sky Clark because I still remember him scoring 36 points in the ACC tournament.
I think Sky's the most talented player. He would be my answer for who's the best player for UCLA this year.
Was it Selena Gomez who said the heart wants one at once, or was that Demi Lovato? One of those two said the heart wants what it wants, and my heart wants to say Sky.
It was Selena. It was. Who's the transfer in this class that will improve the most from start to finish?
I think it's Eric Daly. I really believe he's gonna. He might not live up to like this top 40. I want to say he played on one of those U20 or U17 FIBA teams, IMG product. Like he might not live up completely to that capacity, but I think we'll see a decent sophomore jump from him.
I like the daily shout. I also would love that answer if it was like a full career. Like I think from who he is now to the end of his UCLA career, he's the easy answer. I hope it happens this year. I think all the rest of these guys are pretty finished products. So I'll say daily, but I'm not expecting a huge jump necessarily by like March he's starting or anything like that. Final one here. What is your transfer hot take for UCLA?
I mean, it was that Tyler Bilodeau beats out Kobe Johnson for a start.
Yeah, it's good. I think the hot take for me would be that William Kyle is starting games over Ade Mara for like a month in the middle of the season. And you had him in your starting lineup, so I think you agree with that. But I believe in Mara enough to say it's not going to last forever, but I think there will be at least a stretch where it's like we're going to send a message, Mick Cronin. And that's what I think Mick Cronin sounds like. And William Kyle's the recipient. Okay, there you go. There's Meet the Transfers UCLA edition, 16th overall in our transfer class rankings. We got 20 other videos in this series up on the channel, dropping 3 per day over the next week and a half. Car, you know what I love about you?
That I'm handsome?
You're reliable. I can count on you. Honestly, you remind me of Aaron Henry a little bit. Remember when their back was against the wall, nothing was going right, and man just showed up every day. He didn't make excuses. There were no problems. There were just solutions.
Sounds like me.
That's you. And it also reminds me of Duncan Mechanical Solutions, because if you're looking for quality furnace repair, look no further than the heating and air experts that you can trust. Comfort and quality are their standard. They're an HVAC company that serves Northeast Indiana and Southern Michigan, whether it's heating and air conditioning, plumbing, kitchen and bath remodeling, or emergency services when you need them most. Duncan Mechanical Solutions has reliable service that you can count on. Cart, remember when your basement almost exploded?
I remember when my basement almost exploded. I remember when my furnace itself was acting funny. I remember when my AC was acting funny. I wish I had Duncan in my back pocket. I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been anywhere in northern Indiana or southern Michigan that hasn't been perfectly cool or perfectly warm, depending on when the day called for. And that's because of Duncan Mechanical Solutions. They are the presenting sponsor for the month of July. Shout out to Duncan Mechanical Solutions. Go to duncanmechanicalsolutions.com to learn more.